everybody, and welcome back to a brand new Doctor Who video where, well, I don't want to be a negative, I don't want to bring a downer to it, but today it's 3 months until the 60th anniversary of Doctor Who. And I don't know if it's just me, maybe it's just me and I'm being a bit of a grumpy, miserable guts, but I just don't feel like there's that much hype about Doctor Who right now. Like, we're 3 months, only 3 months now out from the 60th anniversary, a massive celebration for Doctor Who. I know it's not necessarily as big as the 50th anniversary, but it still feels like a pretty major deal. And, you know, we have had the trailers. They started, nearly a year ago with the little teaser at the end of Power of the Doctor. We had one at Christmas, we had one at Eurovision with the announcement of the titles. So we've had things here and there. But it still feels, I don't know, maybe I'm kind of remembering with nostalgia 2013, but I just feel like there was a lot more stuff going on, Doctor Who related content, events, everything just felt like there was a lot more happening back in 2013 than there has been this year so far. And maybe it's just a case that they're waiting until much closer to November and then it's kind of going to be a big celebration from November. But I don't know, up until now it doesn't feel like we've had quite enough maybe. I'm not necessarily sure what I would have liked to have seen, but I feel like in 2013, I think obviously in 2013 it helped that you at least had a half a series, most of a series to fill out the first half of the year. I think that probably made a significant difference over what we've got this year, which is no Doctor Who for over a year. For 11 months of the 60th anniversary year, there isn't any Doctor Who. So I think that's difficult. That definitely makes it harder, we've had things like Doomsday, we've had, lots of big Finish releases through this year and things like that. And, it's cool to have those kind of things, but I think there's nothing that really compares to having the television show going. And of course, that's going to be massive, I think, when we get to November, whether the episodes air 3 days in a row, 3 weeks in a row, whatever, we know that we've got 3 episodes in November, we've got a Christmas special, we've got series 14's already filmed and going to be happening very early next year as well. Probably spin-offs to come after that. So I feel like, maybe to an extent it's keeping it quiet because we've almost got a relaunch of the show happening in November. For want of a better phrase, I know, yes, the 60th is going to be kind of more celebratory of Series 4 and hopefully a bit more. And then Ncuti Gatwa's Doctor is going to kind of bring us into a much newer era, a fresh new era, I think. So maybe that's why they're kind of saving some of the hype for then. But it does just feel at the moment like, there's not any really big announcements. There's been a few little things. I just remember like for 2013, we had the big Doctor Who festival for the anniversary. That was something that was announced, I think, in July of 2013. So I feel like it's the sort of thing, if they were going to do some big, physical in-person event to celebrate the 60th, they would have announced it already. Maybe I'll be completely wrong. I'm recording this a couple of days in advance, knowing my luck, they'll have announced it between now and then. But I feel like that's the sort of obvious thing that they haven't done. I know they're doing a very small sort of Radio 2 concert thing, which is maybe going to have 300 people at, something like that. But compared to 2013, when we had the Doctor Who proms, thousands of people at the Albert Hall seeing this Doctor Who concert, it's just those sorts of things that I just feel like, I don't know, it just feels like it's kind of missing this year in really creating the hype. And I think we've sort of spent the last kind of 5 years probably imagining what the 60th anniversary year was going to look like, imagining how the specials what sort of specials there'd be, how they'd play out, and just generally picturing what this year would look like. And I feel like up until now, maybe it hasn't quite lived up to that expectation. Now, it's not to say there's been nothing. We've of course had Blu-ray box sets this year. We've got an animated story coming in November. As I said, Doomsday, although it hasn't really been my cup of tea, that has still been an ongoing thing through the year as well, alongside, as I say, all the big Finish releases. We've had Target novelisation releases, just lots of other sort of wider media content has been there. So there's been, an element of it, but the lack of a series, obviously 2013 also saw the recovery of missing episodes. That's not exactly something you can plan. That kind of just gets lucky, and it seems pretty unlikely that's going to happen this year, but I think that was another thing. And I think for me, the key, as I say, the title of the video, about whether this has been, a bit underwhelming and there's little hype. I do think there's been a lack of hype about the 60th up until this point. Of course, RTD's been dropping trailers and stuff, and let's be real, if the 60th anniversary had been run by Chris Chibnall, we would know nothing. We wouldn't even know David Tennant's in it officially. We'd know it because it would have leaked, but we wouldn't know it officially. We'd have no trailer, we'd have one image of a minor side character is all we'd have if this was the Chibnall era. So I guess we should be lucky and appreciative from that perspective. But in terms of, actual hype, I think that's something that's going to I really hope it's something that's going to really ramp up in the sort of, in September, especially in October and into November, with lots of TV appearances from the cast, maybe some form of events, hopefully some, cinema screenings for the 60th, stuff like that. Just hopefully lots of, little events and things like that. That doesn't have to be massive, but just kind of bringing the show back into the public consciousness, because I feel like the 60th and Series 14 is such a massive opportunity for Doctor Who to really take back that mainstream audience that's really been missing in the last sort of 5 to 8 years. It sort of feels like we peaked 10 years ago with Doctor Who. Like, obviously we had the massive David Tennant era, particularly RTD era, 2008, 2009 was massive for the show. And it maybe wasn't quite as big through the Matt Smith era, but it was still pretty huge. And I still feel like it built to a crescendo with Day of the Doctor that was, I think had 13, 14 million people watch it in the UK. It was an absolute kind of peak moment for the show. And it feels almost like ever since we've kind of been going just a little bit in the wrong direction. To the point where the Chibnall era has been probably less popular, less well viewed and things like that. And I'm just really, really hopeful that this 60th anniversary, that Series 14 can be that opportunity to grab that audience back, to bring them back, to grow the show again. And so I'm just really hoping that this sort of, the marketing and the hype around the show is really going to build up again, where I just think it's been lacking this year so far. I am, of course, personally thoroughly looking forward to the 60th anniversary. I think they're going to be great episodes. It's great to have RTD back. There is still so much to look forward to, but I think they must just be waiting until a little bit closer to the episodes to really build that hype, build that excitement, to release more information. And you can't help, I think, but feel a little bit that it feels like the celebration of Series 4, as I said earlier, that because of a lack of any other Doctors or eras being involved in the 60th anniversary specials as much as we know at the moment, that it does feel a little bit heavily weighted towards that. As I mentioned in one of my other videos about the Series 1 to 4 Blu-ray, that's also connecting into that era of the show again. That I really hope that the 60th is a much wider celebration, and that's almost why I kind of hoped we were going to get more kind of other content and other things through the year connecting to other eras of the show, given that the 60th anniversary special looks from the outside, and maybe I'll be completely wrong, maybe I will be, but looks from the outside to be more heavily weighted towards that specific era of the show, which isn't a terrible thing, but I think is significant, and is why I would have liked to have seen more other stuff through the year. But ultimately, I'm sure when November comes around, I'll be super excited. There'll be trailers on TV every day. There'll be lots of hype. People, David Tennant on the One Show or whatever are talking about it. Things like that will be happening. Hopefully there'll be cinema screenings, some sort of event or something around the 60th would be so exciting as well. I just hope that what we've seen so far isn't a precursor for what's to come, and actually RTD, Mr. Marketing Expert, is going to bring all the hype and the marketing in these last couple of months before the specials. But guys, that is just about it from this video. I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. Is there any more you would have liked to have seen through this year so far? Do you feel the hype is lacking, or do you feel like it's fine? You just complain about nothing, Elliot. What are you talking about? I'd love you to tell me that I'm wrong. I really don't mind. Please do go for it in the comments below. But also, if you do think there's other things, what would you like to see in between now and November? What sort of events or releases or anything that you'd like to see coming up between now and then? I'd also love to hear all of that down in the comments below. But that's just about it from this video, guys. Remember to hit that like button, that subscribe button if you are new here, for subscribe for all different Doctor Who content. There will be starting to come more on this channel in the future. But for now, from me, all is left to say is goodbye.